every day I'm faced with different challenges, and sometimes those challenges seem, overwhelming. But getting through those challenges is what creates the growth that you were just talking about, Jason. That you know, and that is, in my opinion, growth equals happiness. So, if you're not happy, go do something to grow and contribute to others, and that'll make you happy.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Brian Charlesworth. He's the chairman and CEO of Sisu, focusing on enhancing the real estate sales environment through technological solutions. So Brian, I first just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate you taking the time out. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Grateful to be here.
Can you just tell us about your background, what brought you into, kind of creating Sisu and sort of the lead up to that?
Yes, I've been around for a long time now, so there's a lot to share. But backing up, back in my 20s, that was when being an entrepreneur wasn't really the thing to do. Back then, everybody, everybody had jobs, and my parents had jobs, for 50 years. Anyway, when I graduated from college, I always planned on creating something big, and the internet was just coming out. I was actually at MCI WorldCom, which that and AT&T are like the two biggest companies that brought the internet around. So, that's a sign of my age right there. But I remember actually training businesses on, this is how you use email. This is how you use the internet, stuff like that. And so I had this big vision early on of like the internet was going to take over, and that's, where everything was going to be done. And we all know that that has all happened now. But back then, my vision was that voice internet would be the thing. So back in the, early 2000s, I was building the first voice internet company. And when I say voice internet, I'm not talking voice over IP. I'm talking about browsing the internet using your voice, such as what we do today on Siri, Alexa, and Google. So I had a company called Talk To Technology, and we were in all of the wireless companies. And I was trying to get people to surf the web using their voice, while Steve Jobs was getting them to use this little device that's in my hand right here, the iPhone. So anyway, had a great time doing that. It was the most fun I'd ever had in my life. When that company sold, I actually started my own investment firm for about 8 years called Sopra Capital. Sopra Capital bought franchise companies, and we bought some food brands, and we bought some home service brands. And home service brands were things like Housemaster, which we had a lot of success with. And we also tried to buy Budget Blinds, but I ended up partnering with Budget Blinds and helping Budget Blinds acquire 3 businesses underneath them. And then when those 2 companies sold about 10 years ago, I had just gotten remarried, and my wife basically said, "Hey, while you're figuring out your next thing, will you come help me build my real estate team?" And, I've always had this vision of changing the world through like the voice internet stuff. And when I got into her real estate business, she just had a small team of 5 agents at the time. And now she has a team of 100 agents and about 2,500 people in her real estate organization. So, but at the time I got into it, I got to see just all the pain points of real estate, like real estate technology, and how these guys were trying to solve things. And, she had 3 transaction coordinators supporting 5 agents that were using things like whiteboards with the tape lines down and the tape lines across. so that you could check off boxes of, completing the 27 items to get somebody from contract to close. So, they were using email to get information from an agent over to a transaction coordinator. And then that transaction coordinator would have to take that information and put it into a spreadsheet. Just super cumbersome stuff. And so we improved upon that. And how we improved upon it was we started using things like smart forms, which would allow smart sheets would allow us to send a notification out at 5 p.m. to tell the agents to put their data in. But we were still using spreadsheets for goals. We switched from email to Google intake forms. And then, Google intake forms are great. But what can you do with that data? That data gets put in and somebody has to now take it out and put it into another platform, which at the time we improved those whiteboards with Trello. A lot of people in real estate still use Monday.com. And the problem is, once again, you have no reporting. So what I found was it was super cumbersome to take data and put it into one platform and then take it and put it in another platform. And that would happen 3 or 4 times every transaction, which each time is about 20 minutes. So if you're talking about doing 100 transactions, that's over 100 hours. If you're talking about doing 1,000 transactions, that's over 1,000 hours. And still there was no good reporting. So I would have to get my reports like on the 15th day after the end of the month. I would get financials. Super, like, I can't make real-time decisions based off that. So anyway, the first thing we rolled out to solve for this was a sales performance to replace the spreadsheet, sales performance platform, so that agents we could track the agents' data, we could track their activities and know basically, if an agent wanted to make $250,000 a year, we could tell them exactly what they needed to do to make $250,000 a year, and knowing all their conversion ratios and actually having accurate data. So the first thing we did was implement that for her team only. And what we found was those 5 agents, they all had a significant increase in their business. Most of them went from doing 1 or 2 transactions a month to doing 4 or 5 transactions a month. And so at that point, I realized I was onto something. And at that point, I told my wife I was going to step out of her team and I was going to build something to change the real estate industry.
Sounds like you definitely recognized a need there, which is, I think that's where a lot of innovation comes from, right? It's like, oh, here's a problem. Why are we doing it this way? Let's go ahead and, kind of change something to make it better. And how far, so when was that? When did you kind of start to make that transition? Like how many years ago?
That was in 2016. So yeah, 8 years ago at this point.
Okay. And you started implementing that technology with her sales team. Then how long did you kind of keep that, I guess, in-house, if you will, before you started branching out and so really using it to change the entire real estate industry? What was your approach to that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were onto something. When we first did that, we had just built a iPhone app that allowed people to basically have their information in front of them on the iPhone app. Once we decided to go all in and build a business out of it, it took us about a year so mid 2018 to launch an iPhone app to the industry, which, I'm a believer of launch something that you're embarrassed about and constantly improve upon that. So I didn't launch anything that was perfect by any means. But then we actually ended up building our platform that basically for the desktop, and that we launched in January of 19. So, it took about a year and a half to build something that was launchable on the desktop, and probably less than a year for the app the native iOS app, if you will, which is what we started with.
As you're sort of doing this and growing it and building it out, and I think the point about sort of launching something you're embarrassed about, I think it really just goes along with that mindset of done is better than perfect, and getting something moving, putting a product out there, like really kind of finding a start. Because I mean, I guess really probably in any industry, in any business, probably version 1 isn't going to be perfect. It's not going to be what you want. Even if you put it out there thinking it's going to be perfect, it's not
Yep.
going to be perfect at that time. You're going to have multiple iterations. What kind of growth have you had? I'm always fascinated to hear about sort of people's growth story, how they scale businesses. I think creating those multiple iterations makes that's almost comes with the territory. But what did you do to sort of grow it and expand out to having other users?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is I'll go back to your last point, and that is just being embarrassed about something. Like the fastest way you can get real good feedback is to get it in front of customers. That way you're getting actual customer feedback and not just your own perception. Because I may think I know what everyone needs, but I don't really know until I get feedback, right? So there is no perfect. Even today, we continue to do releases every 2 weeks and continue to expand on what we do and to improve upon what we do. So that will never stop. The journey was we launched in January of 19, which was really when we started selling, a true SaaS product. Today we have about 3,600 teams on the platform, real estate teams and brokerages. Most of those brokerages are independent brokerages. That equates to about 70,000 users on the platform. And, my goal is that every transaction in real estate ultimately flows through our platform. We've come a long ways from what we launched with to what we are today. And what we are today is much more than, sales performance. It's much more than transaction management. It's much more than reporting. It's all of those things combined, including a client portal that allows the mortgage company and the title company to come in and collaborate and communicate and share documents with the realtor, with the client. So we've really evolved to, we are an end-to-end platform for everything that you need to do in real estate, with the exception of we are not a lead follow-up system. In real estate, CRMs are IDX websites and lead follow-up. We chose to partner with every CRM to help people drive usage within their CRM, because if people are doing work in the CRM and we have a great integration with that CRM, we're actually able to provide better reporting of what's going on in that CRM. So we have integrations with pretty much every CRM in the industry at this point. And that's really been our approach. So again, today we're at about 7 million of ARR, about 70,000 agents on the platform, and about 3,600 teams and brokerages on the platform.
It's fantastic. That's very impressive growth. And it struck me kind of as you're talking about it, your initial, sort of, I guess, problem to solve was the whiteboard with the tape on it, and essentially the getting lists completed. And I would imagine your technology, it's great, it's helping the real estate industry, but I would imagine you could essentially take that same approach or same basic problem that you're solving and apply it to other industries. Have you given any thought to that? Do you think that's an applicable use case?
I do, actually. When we built the original platform, we built it not only for real estate, but also for mortgage. We have not rolled out to mortgage still to this day, because what I've found is we really just needed to focus on real estate and solve the problem there the right way. But we've gotten to a point now where we really have solved what a sales organization needs to look like, not only from selling and holding agents and salespeople accountable, but also from a operations and back end side of things. How can you effectively run this? So, I mean, I've had a lot of I have a lot of neighbors who own solar companies. Many of them have asked me, "Oh, it'd be so amazing if you could do that for my solar business." I've had people in the car industry say, "If you could only do that for the car industry." So, I mean, yes, ultimately, there is a chance that we roll out to all sales industries, or call it all 1099 sales industries, where people are getting paid at 1099. I think it's applicable in those cases, maybe beyond that. But right now, we've spent the last 2 years rewriting our entire front end in Angular, which allows us to have our iOS and Android apps on par constantly with the platform. So it used to be when we had native iOS and native Android apps, they were always behind. And now you get this exact same experience. No matter what device, you have a Sisu app on your computer, just like I have a Zoom app and any other app, call it Slack or anything else, sitting here on my desktop. Sisu is the same way now, where it doesn't matter which device, you can have that app on your device and you're going to have the same experience. So doing that has allowed us to now do things a lot more flexible. And part of what we're expanding on right now is fully customizable dashboards. The dashboard you see on the screen behind me happens to be Sisu. That's my wife's business. But any business, like, you should be able to see whatever you want and have real-time data at your fingertips 24/7, no matter what business you're in. So yes, we've thought about doing that. I think in real estate, there is some cap as far as how big we can get. Follow Up Boss just sold for $500 million, which is a big exit in the real estate space as a CRM. They sold to Zillow. For us to get to that billion mark, I think we will have to go out to other industries.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned your neighbors in other companies. Like, oh, I'd love to. I mean, immediately, kind of the way you're describing it, I had the same thoughts. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of ways this type of management system could be applicable, and it you're using it in sort of the I assume residential real estate space. We
do have some commercial
real
teams
estate
that use us, but we've been focused on residential.
Yeah. But I mean, you could, like, when we're raising capital, having something that, sort of built like this, just essentially, as you mentioned, that, that accountability, and then having integration, to me, is huge. I've always felt like the biggest challenge when it comes to a lot of different technologies is integrating them together and being able to use, silly example, but has been like a big frustration, is like, how many different calendar apps are there out there? And it's like, they don't, so if someone sends you an invitation in one, in Zoom, it might show up in one calendar and not the other calendar, and like getting them all to talk to each other, and frankly, like, why do I need to have more than one in the first place? I think the ability to get, any system integrated to what you're already using is tremendously important. So I think that quality alone makes Sisu really appealing, I would think, from kind of any angle. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, when we built Sisu, it was really with the thought of, we are going to connect to all platforms. In fact, originally, I didn't think I was going to be doing the transaction management in my platform, but what I realized is I could not only have better data by doing that, but I could streamline and automate all their systems and provide a better experience to our customer base. So But that being said, we did build the platform with the intent of integration. So we have API endpoints off of every single piece of our platform, which is we actually used our API to write to build out our new Angular app. It's all developed off of our API endpoints.
Integration, I think is hugely important in any technology platform, and I'm actually very intrigued by this. I don't sell real estate myself, so it may be not applicable at this time, but I see this as something to keep an eye on. Seeing what you do next with it, I think could be really, really compelling and useful in other industries. So very, very cool perspective on, kind of what to do with a platform. And it sounds like you're really solving problems. And obviously the amount of users that you've gained in that time is really speaks to the quality of the product. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just my wife she has a pretty good following. She seems to post quite a bit. She's, doing coaching and other things now. And somebody in Arizona actually happened to see her post something that had our platform in the back, and they said, "Hey, what is that?" And they happen to be in the financial planning industry. And I have not yet connected with them. We've connected, but just via messages. And probably we'll have a conversation with them either this afternoon or tomorrow. But yes, I agree. I think there's application across a wide array of industries here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm excited for you and kind of excited to see what happens with it, kind of going forward, the additional growth, the additional spaces you might enter. So really, really cool. I'm I'm not technologically savvy at all. I love technology as a user. I don't necessarily understand how it all works, but I think it's super cool when I get to talk to people and like hear how they're implementing and creating, to solve for a specific problem. I think it sounds like your wife got to be, fortunately, the first beneficiary of this in your creativity and development skills. So very, very cool.
Jason, you bring this up, and I certainly don't want to take credit for my wife's growth, but her leveraging our platform has turned her, changed her from being a salesperson or a real estate agent to being a phenomenal leader and manager of leaders. So she has since, hired an ops leader, hired a sales leader, and she manages those people very effectively using our platform, knowing their numbers real time 24/7, so it's been fun to see and be a part of.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, and it's like fun is probably exactly the right word, right? Because it's, when you're getting to partner with someone that, like a spouse or family member, a good friend or something like that. I think sometimes it makes those results even that much more exciting, being able to see kind of her growth and the ability to implement the technology to help that growth. It's just it's really a fun and exciting process to kind of be a part of. So it's really, really great for you and her. Brian, let me switch gears here. I want to ask you the questions I get to ask every guest. The first one is based on the name of the show, which is Know Your Why. And so I always like to ask every guest, what is your why? In your story, you've had a success at a number of levels, and kind of funny to hear that she asked you to, come help her with the real estate business while you figured out what your next venture was going to be. Turns out it was related. So what is your why? What kind of keeps you motivated?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the planet is going to change tremendously over the next decade. my why used to be to leverage and do that with the internet, but really changing the world through technology, I think, is my why. I'm now building something that is changing sales organizations. And as I look at I just see the opportunity of what that will do. So, it's interesting. I think that a lot of people's why is to retire so that they think they want to retire. But retirement isn't so much fun when you think about sitting on the couch watching TV every day or even playing golf every day. It's just,
Right.
it's not that fulfilling. So, people always ask me, what do you want to do, after you sell this business? And I want to create another business. That's what I like to do.
Right.
Anything
Yeah.
that I can do that has an impact on this planet, I think is a great thing. Elon Musk is obviously one of my people that I listen to a lot and look up to, and obviously his why is much, much bigger than my whys, but that's why he's doing bigger things than I am.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I think the point about retirement, it's funny that a lot of people I get to talk to on the podcast is very like successful, driven. Like you just said, what do you want to do when you sell this company, build another one? Like that is the what they the enjoyment out of life. That's
Yes.
where the joy comes from, and the idea. And I agree with you. Like the idea of just sitting around all day, or that's not appealing to me at all. Like I'm sure there are people that do, but that's not like what's exciting to me is growth. And your like just even talking to you about the growth of Sisu and like different applications, that's very exciting to me. Like that's super cool. I couldn't do it in that space, but at the same time, still like just hearing those stories is really fascinating to me. So retirement means something different to a lot of people, but sitting around is not.
I think it's really important that we enjoy the journey. And sometimes that's hard to do. Like every day I'm faced with different challenges, and sometimes those challenges seem, overwhelming, but getting through those challenges is what creates the growth that you were just talking about, Jason, that, and that is, in my opinion, growth equals happiness. So if you're not happy, go do something to grow and contribute to others, and that'll make you happy.
Yeah. No, it's very, very true. I love that. Brian, tell us something about yourself that isn't common knowledge, special skill, a hobby, anything that you're comfortable sharing. We've had the camera issues, but I saw some jerseys in the background that I was going to ask you about as well. I'm a big sports fan, so I saw something back there that was interesting.
Well, something that's not common knowledge is, and it might be for those who know us, but my wife actually calls me 007. When Casino Royale came out many, many years ago, my daughter and all of her friends thought I looked like Daniel Craig. And so ever since then, that nickname 007 has kind of stuck with me, so much so that my Instagram is 007BC. And my To-Me bags all say 007 on them. So every time I'm in the airport, people say, "Are you him?" So anyway, it's pretty funny. So that's something that not many people know. But as far as what I like to do, I'm an avid sports fan. I grew up playing 4 sports in high school. Absolutely love sports, love team sports. And right now, living in Utah, I've really migrated to spending more time with outdoor sports. So things like, mountain biking, wake surfing, snow skiing, etc.
Super cool. I'll have, that's a cool nickname to pick up. There certainly could be worse. So good for getting a good one. Some people get stuck with nicknames that not ones you don't want to put on your luggage.
So I'll
when
share
people
this
hear
story
this and they
jerseys.
want to reach out, what's the best way? Oh, sure.
Yeah, if somebody wants to reach out to me, the best way to reach me is probably my email, which is brian@sisu.co. That's brian@sisu.co. So, or you can reach out to me on social through probably Instagram would be best, which is 007BC. It's a great way to get a hold of me. If you want to learn more about my company, that's how. If you happen to be in real estate and want to learn more about Sisu, go to sisu.co and just you can get a free demo request there.
All right, tell us about the jerseys.
All right. So for a period of time, I used to go to pretty much every Jazz game and had some lower seats. I've had several different seats down in the lower bowl, but this season I happened to sit down next to the visiting team on the front row. So the visiting team's bench is here, and we sat right here on the end. In my opinion, those are the best seats in any arena. And the reason why is you get to know all the players from the visiting teams. And at that time, my son, who is now 23, was 9 years old. And he would always he was a huge basketball fan, thought he should just shoot 3-pointers all day. I coached his comp league. But what ended up happening is, he was huge fans of all these players, such as Kyrie Irving, who you see back here on the wall, Steph Curry, all these types of players. So he would wear their jersey sitting down there, which, when you're sitting next to the team, your son has their jersey on, they'll usually come over, they'll sign the jersey, they'll give you their arm sleeves, their wristbands, their shoes. Some of them, if they like kids,
Yeah.
Some of them are not that way at all. I won't mention any names, but I will say that
they're probably not listening to this podcast, but
Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving, like those guys are class. They would come over and do anything for kids. So anyway, we collected that year probably, a dozen jerseys of the top point guards and shooting guards in the NBA. So it was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Great experience for your kids. I think it is it's really cool to kind of humanize athletes. Sometimes you hear and yeah, I think being human, some people are going to be good people and some people aren't, and that's just the reality. And sometimes that that's why they say don't meet your heroes, because you don't want to find out if that person is actually a jerk. But yes,
well, it might be good to find out, and they may not be your hero anymore.
Right, I suppose that's true. Yes, a different, just a different perspective. But yeah, very cool. I think that's. I'm a big sports fan myself. I think just kind of really fun to connect. I honestly don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything bad about Steph Curry, like, ever.
Yeah.
So
yeah. He is truly a class guy.
Yeah. I'm from Boston, so I can't really root for him as I can't root for the team, but I can sort of recognize greatness and yeah, you really just never been anything anyone said bad about, like, and that's hard to say. I as a Boston fan, I can't say the same thing for Kyrie, but I'm glad that you had a good experience with him. It didn't leave Boston on the best of terms, but that's okay. He did. Again, they're not listening to this podcast, I'm sure. Well, listen,
that's true.
Yeah. Brian, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you hanging in through some of these technical difficulties. Really enjoyed your story, and like I said, I think the success and application of Sisu as a service is just kind of really amazing to me, and compelling in all the different directions that I think you could take it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out today. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jason. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Folks listening, please like, rate, and review the show so we can get more great guests like Brian, and thank you all for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?